The author also talks about the power of forgetfulness. He points out how athletes are able to make some of the most embarrassing mistakes, and they have to have the skill of completely forgetting that just happened in front of the world and going forward with their skills and the game plan and running the play. Welcome back to the Book Nook. I'm your host, Coach Shayla Ma'at, and we are reading from Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. In this episode, we're talking about Chapter 5, Rational Thinking. The author starts by talking about the conscious mind. We know that the conscious mind involves what we are aware of. And in Chapter 5, he talks about how it's important to be able to use the conscious mind properly. He talked about how although making sustainable changes does involve deep diving, hypnosis, changing our perception of ourselves, and reprogramming the mind, we can use our conscious mind and our habits, our behaviors, our awareness to indeed program the subconscious mind. And he talks about how we can do this through rational thinking. He points out how the subconscious mind has no will, operates automatically based on its program, and has to be programmed by our conscious minds through repetitive action and repetitive thinking. Because we're conscious when we're carrying on an action. So although the subconscious mind is so deep and abstract, we can use our conscious mind to reprogram our subconscious mind through rational thinking. He made a great point when he said that the irrational thinking from our conscious minds is the same thing that gave us these negative programs through negative irrational actions and negative irrational thinking. So chapter 5 goes into how to use rational thinking to do the same thing. And I think that's perfect, especially for us late bloomers who are trying to get ourselves together and do the inner work, the shadow work, the personal development to change our belief systems. So to have something that's simplistic and practical, like just tweaking our repetitive actions and repetitive thoughts through rational thinking is great. I think once we come to these rational conclusions and get a handle on the stories that we tell ourselves on a day-to-day, we can run those same rational conclusions through all aspects of life. For example, if I'm being rational about it, I am a consistent winner. I have overcome so many things. So it's rational for me to go ahead and conclude that I am a consistent winner. So I can apply that to any situation in my life just by believing it. And this chapter helps us to discover those more self-serving and powerful, convicting aspects through rational thinking. Using those same rational conclusions in everyday life and it being a simple tweak from negative actions to positive repetitive actions, it's a win-win because you're going to eventually tap into the subconscious mind. Those new positive behaviors will eventually become programs if we are consistent. The author compares rational thinking to picking a target, and that being the same target that the subconscious mind will grasp onto. He talks about using the imagination to communicate that through visualization and feeling as if. So I'm a consistent winner. I imagine myself winning in every scenario. I feel as if, and that is the communication that goes into the subconscious mind. So you're practicing rational, self-serving, repetitive actions, and you're also picturing the best outcome. You're picturing the best case scenario, and you're feeling through faith and belief and positive thinking that boom, it is what it is, we're winning. we're winning. I won, I'm a winner, and it feels great. Nobody is stopping you from doing that. That is a choice. The author also talks about the power of forgetfulness. He points out how athletes are able to make some of the most embarrassing mistakes, and they have to have the skill of completely forgetting that that just happened in front of the world and going forward with their skills and the game plan and running the play. That's a skill. Being able to forget your mistakes. You accept them, you learn from them, you get the lesson from them, but you don't let them hang over your head and be embarrassed by them. You take them as lessons and then you forget them. And what happens when you go, the quicker you let it go, the quicker the subconscious mind can hook onto the corrections. So you make the mistake, you learn from the lesson, you start to make the corrections. You don't stay focused on the embarrassment of the mistake. You focus in on the lesson. You focus in on executing the new way to move. And by you doing that, now you're getting right back into what? Repetitive rational actions and repetitive rational thinking. Because it's rational, because it's the solution, it's the correct way, it's the correction. Okay, it's repetitive because you have shifted from embarrassment right into what? The solution, right into what? The correction. So your focus is where you are able to communicate to the subconscious mind through repetitive actions. And he talks about how you're supposed to forget the mistake after you learn and get right into what? The rational repetitive actions, the corrections, the lesson. He talked about when you dwell on the memories of past failures, they can multiply. Repetitive focus on these mistakes is going to just reinforce it in the subconscious mind into your belief systems and strengthen these self-limiting beliefs. Not only that, it affects your performance because you're not even tapped in. You're somewhere embarrassed when you got to be able to forget it so you can move forward. He talks about our conscious mind is what we use to focus on what we're creating. Okay? So that conscious mind is always focusing in on what's actively being created. And if you're actively in regret and remorse, guilt and shame, baby, that's what you're creating. So another great reason why is you shift your focus onto the lesson of the mistake. And practicing forgetfulness is a skill that's going to help you to be able to pivot right on to what's important, right on to a better target for your subconscious mind. Because we're always either operating out of a program, or if we're alchemists and if we're in our work, we're always reprogramming. So if you're actively working toward reprogramming, you know that it's a journey. You know that actively reprogramming is a journey of repetition and being repetitive. So you got to decide on the rational belief, the rational thought. You got to use your conscious mind, which is designed to focus on what you're creating in the moment, to dwell in on what? The solution. Dwell on the positive. Dwell on the favorable target, not the mistake. The lesson. So for the most part, we should be ignoring our failures and focusing on moving forward and only taking our lessons along with us. I like how the author talked about how when we worry, it's a form of using our imagination. We're literally visualizing, using the imagination, the very tool that we use to communicate with the subconscious mind. When we worry, we're misusing our tools. When we worry, we're misusing the imagination. The imagination is the way we communicate with the subconscious mind. That is the way we're able to communicate our target through visualization. So if we're not using rational thinking and we're worrying, we are going over and beyond by sitting up here imagining what we don't want to see. That vision that you see of the worst case scenario, baby, that's going off into your subconscious mind, into the magic. Don't mess up the magic with the worry. No, our imagination And visualization need to be used for the beautiful things, the self-serving things, the favorable things, what we desire, not what we don't want to desire. So it's important for us to let go quickly of worry. I'm not saying you're not going to worry, but when you find out and realize that's what you're doing, stop. Because that's visualizing, that's using your imagination incorrectly. And if you're going to worry, or if you're in the mood of seeing some things, then switch the scenario. Get in there like you're lucid dreaming in the middle of a worry session. When you're thinking about, oh, it's going to go wrong. Oh, the bill. And then go ahead and add on and say, ooh. And then I went and checked the mail, and a check from so-and-so for $15,000 came and covered bills for 6 months. Okay, like do something to switch it up. You have the power. Our attitudes impact our ability to be able to stop worrying or shift our focus and even be able to choose to think of something favorable. Because if we're in a bad mood, bad attitude, negative attitude, or distracted by some other mess, then how are we even going to be able to be flexible like water enough to even switch up? So I get what he means by attitude. It's important that we constantly throughout the day check our attitudes. Take that grip off. Oh, let it loose. Let it loose. Relaxing and letting go actually is relief. It feels good. And when you're able to let go, you can change your attitude. And you can get into gratitude. And you want to have a good attitude to be able to not worry and use your conscious mind properly. A good thing that you can do when it comes to worrying that I do, if I can't stop myself, is I say, okay, wait a minute, let's do the math. Let's just do the math. What in this scenario do I have control over? Immediate control. And then I focus on those things. I take my concern, control, focus completely up off of what I do not have control over. And I put it on the things I can move around. And if that means I need to put on some headphones, if that means I need to leave and go for a walk, if that means I need to take a shower, wash my hands, just immediately thinking of what can I put my hands on. It has to be one thing. And even if that one thing is just writing or laughing to switch my focus, something. And that will help you to distract yourself from worry. Because I'd rather be doing something pertaining to something I can do than worrying about something I can't do or I have no control over. So I think that's a good thing. Just try to focus on what you can focus on. I've been able to come up with some great homework assignments for this episode of the Book Nook, and it is involving some questions we need to be asking ourselves and some activities and exercises that we can do to eliminate worrying, begin to practice forgetfulness, and start to use our conscious mind in the right way through rational thinking. If you're interested in joining the Book Nook Book Club on Patreon, there you'll be able to join us as we go over this week's homework assignments and apply these concepts to our daily lives. The link to the Patreon is in the description. Remember to subscribe and follow me on all of my socials. Watch this video and I'll see you there. Hey Patreon Book Nook Club members. So this week's homework assignment is going to be simple. The first assignment is going to be another visualization practice. It is important that we're able to consistently identify our goals and our desires and also apply the act of visualization. Our imagination is the gateway to our subconscious mind. So this practice is never going to get old. I want you to think of one goal that you want to see happen in the next 60 days. That's 2 months. That's 8 weeks. Think of one thing that you believe that you can handle. And then I want you to go to that last week and I want you to picture what it would be like to have it done. Write out this desire and describe how it looks, feels, smells, sounds. Use all your senses and picture what it would be like with every sense if you got this thing done and this thing accomplished. I want you to write that down as well. And for the next 60 days, each and every day, I want you to write or type in the chat, the Book Nook chat, how great it is, as if it has happened. Not the desire like, I want a ranch. I want you to type in the chat every day for the next 60 days, because that's what the chat is for, to load those affirmations in there. It needs to be a whirlwind of, it's so great that this is how this feels. I'm so excited. Isn't it great that I have this, that, and the third? I am loving being a billionaire. Whatever those affirmations are. And you need to commit to saying it and typing it or writing it every day. And if you don't want to write it, you can pick up your phone and throw it in the Book Nook Book Club chat. It's a safe place, and we're all sharing our self-concepts and our affirmations. Now, homework assignment 2 is you're gonna need a few tools. If you don't have the Flip It workbook, which is a workbook that helps you to find the lesson in every mistake, then you're gonna need some Post-it notes where you can, and you're gonna need a jar. So what you're gonna do is every time that you feel that you have made a mistake this week and going forward all year long, is you're gonna write down the mistake, you're gonna write down where you went wrong and how you could do things differently. Basically, the moral of the story, the lesson. And you're gonna fold that stick-it note and put it in a jar. And you're gonna keep that jar going and add on to it. Make sure you have a lesson for every mistake. And then at the end of the year, you're gonna be able to go in that jar and go over all the lessons in the year, okay? If you're interested in the Flip It workbook, I'll post it in the Patreon so that you can grab your copy. It is on Amazon. And homework assignment number 3, the 6 questions for rational thinking. Any time going forward that you are faced with a limiting belief or challenge, I want you to ask yourself these 6 questions. And you can always answer them in your journal. You can answer them in the chat, or you can text the summary to yourself. But these 6 questions are going to apply to all your challenges. Number 1, why do I believe that I cannot? Why do I believe that I can't? Number 2, is this fact a false conclusion? Is this fact a false conclusion? Number 3, is there any rational reason for this belief? Is there any rational reason for this belief? Number 4, could I be mistaken? Could I be mistaken? Number 5, would I come up with the same conclusion if it was a different person in a similar situation? Take yourself from out of the situation and look at it as if it was someone else in a similar situation. Would you draw the same conclusion? And number 6, why should I continue to believe this for no good reason? Why should I continue to feel this belief to be true for no good reason? So these are the 6 questions we want to start asking ourselves so we can tap into more rational thinking. And the answers should be documented. So use your journal. I'll leave a link to the self-love journal. It's 100 days of self-love, and you're able to track these type of exercises on a daily basis so you can reflect on them. I'll also post the Flip It workbook so you can be able to use it to pull the lessons from your mistakes. And that way you can focus in on the solution, which is the new target for your subconscious mind. Remember to always write down the description of how having your desire feels. Remember to always be ready to write. In the book Nook, we're taking these concepts and we're applying them to our lives. Writing is going to always be a big part of it. Homework is due at the end of the week. You can email it to coachshaylama'at@gmail.com. You can use the chat to post all of your responses. Just make sure you label them. And I look forward to chatting with you in the Book Nook Book Club chat. If you haven't gotten your book yet, you can grab a copy of Psycho-Cybernetics. Use my Amazon link. I will leave that in the description and post it as well. And that way you can be ready for the next episode and the next Book Nook meeting. We'll be meeting here again. Until then, thanks for watching.